Hello everyone and welcome. This is going to be a video to explain HTML and CSS codes, mine specifically. I have noticed that I've received a lot of questions on how to work and write out these codes, and while I cannot sit here and teach you exactly how to write out every single code that you would want, I can at least sit here and tell you how to get from something like this, which is what you would be receiving from my free codes, and turning it to look into something more like this, which is the end result that I'm sure a lot of you are more looking for. Now, this is going to be broken down into parts, or I'm going to at least try my best to do so. So first of all, we have this part right here, which is going to be the first part in every single code that I give. This is JavaScript, and you will not be touching any of this. You do not have to. This allows for a blocking function from people right-clicking and trying to steal your pictures or your character's information. So if I try to right-click on this, it does a pop-up and tells them to just ask me for my codes instead of trying to steal your code. Now, since we're not going to be touching this, we're just going to go ahead and skip over. If my scroll wheel will work. Next, we're going to have this part right here. This is a Google font string of code that allows you to take the font names, which is the font family names, and transfer them into here so it changes the font style. So this is Anybody font, and this is Cinzel Decorative. I will show you how to input this into the code a little bit later, but past that we have HTML and body. Now you see this huge thing right here, and I know it's very overwhelming. This makes it to where any type of overflow that tries to happen outside of the page is not accessed by you scrolling or anything like that. This is so it stops if you have a bigger picture than normal from your page accidentally scrolling when it shouldn't. Your picture should not be bigger than the actual size of the web page unless it is a background image. But we already have something that acts like more of like a background image, and that is the gradient that you see here. You notice that it goes from like this green to a blue. Well, that happens because of this part right here, which you can get these, and let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Now I think I remember the name of it. It's coolers.com. You can go here and you can get a palette. You can make one to start the generator, and it will pop something up like this, and then you could just hit spacebar and it randomizes the colors. And then if you want to keep it, you keep one color that you like, just click on the lock button and it'll change the other ones, so until you get something that you like. And then you can go to cssgradient.io, and this might take a moment to load. More than a moment, okay. There we go. You can go to this website, and you might have noticed that I already have a lot of gradients in here, but if you go down to here, I would recommend hitting max compatibility, so that way it also includes Internet Explorer 6 Plus. Then you could just copy to clipboard and then move on over here and make sure that you get everything except for overflow, and then replace it. Just paste. That's it. If you don't want to choose your own colors, or you're just, hey, you know, this is great and all, but it seems like it's going to take too much time, I already got you. Go to backgrounds. I do UI gradients, but you can use any of these. Well, I think UI gradients is going to be the best because it's going to give you the option to actually click on, you know, copying the CSS code part. So we'll say that you don't like this one. Okay, then you could choose up here any of the colors, the main colors that you want. So if you want mainly blue, you can click on blue, and it will show you a bunch of blue gradients. Let's say, okay, you don't like anything here. You want to go a little bit lighter. Oh, I like this one. It's got a funny name. Well, click on Get CSS, click to copy, and now you have it in your clipboard. Then you just go on over here, and once again copy all of this, make sure that you do not get overflow, and then paste it here. That is going to make it to where the gradient in the background changes. Very simple to do. And I will also be sure to link any of these websites that you see here in this video if you desire to have them, so that way you have them in your bookmarks. Now, moving on. This right here is the scroll bar. So if there was a scroll bar to speak of on this code in particular, it would probably be in abilities for me. Well, this is actually a good example to use right here. Here you can see there's no scroll bar. Weird. Huh. Well, that's because of this. It's made it transparent. So you can't access it. There's no height, there's no width. But the scroll bar still technically exists. It just hides it. I do this because I think this looks cleaner. You don't really need to change anything on this, but if you want it to appear for some reason, you can just adjust these to, or the width to like 10. And it should show up. I would change the background color to something else. Alright, now moving on to more of the meat of the code. And I know, this is a lot, we're 7 minutes in and it's already seeming like a lot, but this takes time. I've been doing this for a long time now, so we're just... Okay, now, this is where your main image is going to be. You might have noticed you see a big old link right here. I did that in order for you to just very easily double click on it and then copy paste. As you can see up here, I made a note. This is the first image. It does need to be completely transparent because it is this right here. This is the first image. As you can see, it is transparent, so that way it works better with the code. If you have an image that has a background up here, it's just going to put the image with no border or anything around it in order to make it look more seamless and clean. And I put in this code that, you know, if you can't render a picture or, you know, something else, I have plenty of other codes and picture altering things that you can access very easily that will allow you to use a code, or use a code either with a picture that has a background to it, or you can render and make a picture transparent. There are some images that you just can't make transparent and make it look good. It's just how it is. I highly recommend finding something that's more either half body or full body with nothing coming out the or touching the right or left side of the image. That way it doesn't cut off and make it look a little more messy. That is just my opinion on it. It is still your code at the end of the day whenever you receive it, so you can do what you want with it. Now, as for the rest of this, if you notice that you put your link in here and your picture is kind of on the small side, or maybe it's too big, you don't have to touch this. This height, don't touch it. You don't have to. 45 is about the length of my entire monitor, and my monitor is about a normal size. You want to go here, and I would do it in increments of 5, but you can do what you need to. You can either lower it to shrink the image if it's too big, or you can grow the number in order to make it bigger if it's too small. But I will warn you, if the image is too small and you try to enlarge it, it's not going to look good. It's just not. Also, if something is too far to the right, or, you know, say you put a picture here and you realize, hey, it's like cutting off a majority of this section of the profile. I don't like that. That's fine. Go over here, see right, in increments of 5 again. Just either lower it to bring her, in particular for this code, over here more, or you can increase the number in order to push her over here more. Just play around with it. It'll be alright if you mess up, because if you do, you can just hit Control Z and it should undo your last edit that you made. Now, moving on, for this code in particular, I have a lot of icons. All of them can have backgrounds to them. That is fine. Just make sure that you do not delete these little things right here. Leave those alone. Just double click on link, paste the image in there. It should be fine. If you notice that the image isn't lined up really well, you can go here in the background position. This first percentage is how much the image is moving, how your view is moving over from the left side to the right, and the background position is from the top to the bottom. So for this one, I had it at 40 and 30, so that way it's over 40% from the left and down 30% from the top. Now, and there's a lot of these. I know I put a lot in here. I wanted to make sure that that everybody had enough image space for the multitude of images that they likely fell in love with and can't choose between. Moving on from there, and you're going to notice, at least with the codes that look like this, you're going to see this a lot. Container also has a background image. This can be whatever you want it to be. I don't really think it matters all that much. I did not replace it in here, even though I probably should have, because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just completely blank and bad. But you can replace this with whatever background image that you want. I recommend a scenery of some sort, like here. I used, and we'll just copy. We'll take a look at it real quick, so that way you guys know what it looks like. See? Just a regular forest. That's it. And I just made it to where it fits into the box. You notice that the background position is at the bottom. That means that it is touching the bottom of the image. It is not at the center of the image or touching the top of the image. If you want to make the box bigger for whatever reason, you can mess with the width. I don't think that you need to, honestly. I do not recommend making it smaller. If you want to make it the height different, you can make that different if you want to. That does not matter to me. If you want it further from the bottom, you can increase this number. If you want it closer to the bottom, so this little gap right here would increase or decrease, you can mess with bottom right here. Yeah. Here we go. And now we're moving on to these little boxes right here. So basic is going to be this one, abilities, this big box down here, OOC, I always try to put an OOC box in there, etc, etc. This is where your font family stuff is going to come in handy, and you notice that I just put the name of the font, and then made sure to put it in parentheses, comma, cursive, that. You just have to replace this. Double click on anybody, replace it with whatever you want, and I will also in a moment show you how to get Google Fonts on here if you want to go and figure that out. Yeah. That's really the only thing that you would have to do in this section in particular. And finally, we're coming down towards the end of CSS in particular, which is honestly the biggest chunk that confuses the most people. So if you have gotten this far, congratulations. You now understand more than your fellow role player or otherwise. But anyways, title is this right here. This is what gives it the shape, which you might have noticed, hey, earlier there was a plus sign in between these. That is Google Fonts' way of linking it to the URL of the font itself that they have in their storage. If I am remembering this correctly, and if I'm not, I'm sure somebody who understands how that works a lot better than I do will correct me, and I'm happy to welcome that. But anyways, color is going to be the color of the font itself. So the green that you see here, that's what this font color is. The font size, I do it in VW. You don't have to. You can do it in EM or pixels if you want to. It does not matter. But that adjusts the size of it, obviously. I have it set to -2.7. That allows it to sit above the box because the title is inside of this big box. So this allows it to pull up over it. And in the HTML section, I will show you how that works out without the overflow thing happening, like you see in the actual web page itself. So that's why there's no overflow here, but there's overflow here. I know that's a little confusing, I apologize, but we'll move on from there. The width is the way that it is because the title I put in there was pretty long. You can lower this until it cuts off, and then when it cuts off, increase it by about 2 or 3. So for example, I could have turned this into 60 and it probably would have cut off all of this and made a break in the line to go underneath what was just highlighted. I didn't want that. I wanted it all in one line, so I extended it out for a little bit further and lined it up to where it was center. Yeah, and then you notice here it says overflow auto. This is so it's not going to make a scroll wheel, because otherwise I would just have scroll here and it's not going to hide anything, or else it would have cut off probably a majority of this, especially down here. This little edge right here on the font tends to get cut off if I don't do that. And yeah, finally, we're down to A and H1. A stands for link. So I made sure that there is no underline on any links that you put in here, because I don't like that. If you do want to underline in your links, you are more than welcome to either delete this or change it. I don't know what other text decorations. Uppercase, you could do uppercase instead. Lowercase. I can't remember the rest of them off the top of my head. But yeah. And then this changes the color of the links, so that way you can differentiate it from the rest. That's why that's green. It's a link. Then finally we have H1. It stands for header 1. That is going to be the biggest header that you could possibly get in any code. It goes from H1 to H6, H6 being the smallest. I align the text center, so you see here, it's centered in the box, not in the entire thing, but just the box that it's contained in. And it's got a font size of 35, PX, not EM or VW. This one's PX. I like to use PX for font sizes. I don't like to use them for anything else. Then font family, Sincel decorative, and color of it. So that wraps up you can change pretty much anything in this. I do not mind. But I recommend keeping the original code in your back pocket in case something messes up, so you can replace it and start again. I've had a lot of people come to me saying that they have accidentally broken the code and have no idea what they did wrong, and all it took was just an accidental misstep in like this. They'll forget that, and it will mess up the code. It just happens. It's not that big of a deal. Trust me, once I find those mistakes, because I do them as well, even in my schoolwork, you tend to hit yourself over the head and call yourself an idiot. But moving on from there, you see I have image here, container, and then container doesn't have, this. That means that everything from here down is contained in the container. That is why title, as you see right here, is contained in the container, and why title has a negative now, because it is sitting above this box. And then I have all my icons in here as well. You do not have to touch any of this except for here. So, quote here. Then we're going to move down a little bit more, and this is where people tend to get confused a lot. You do not have to click on anything except for this. See, true name, put their real name there. Aliases, I put hover here because the box in particular was not that big and I didn't want extra crowding. So a title will allow for a hover link. See? Here, and it pops up. So you can list as many aliases and titles as you want. It does not matter. It will contain it in a little pop-up box that can be hovered over. I really love that little bit of code. But yes, always, always, always make sure you are between span and float right whenever you're putting things in this part of the code. This allows it to stay separate like this. So there's a gap. I would not put a lot of words in here, and if you are, I would recommend copying this portion right here and pasting it to the area that you want it into. So let's say, oh, my character has a whole lot of allergies. Okay, that's fine. Copy that. Well, include the entire thing, obviously. Copy that. Go down to allergies. There it is. Double click that. Paste it there. And then fill out that here. That's all you have to do. Oh, I accidentally left an album in there. Yeah, that's funny. Anyways, here is a hyperlink, aka what you're going to click on in order to get to somewhere else. This is a hyperlink. That is a hyperlink. Anyways, you are only going to replace this part right here with the link of your choice. That is all you need to do. Past that, just make sure you stay between the H1s and the divs. So here, you would type your abilities. If you want to make something bold, use B. And make sure that you close it as well. Always use this. Always close it. You could do B, you could do I, you could do a link as well. I know it off the top of my head, so I don't need to, well, I'm not going to bother typing it, but I don't need to really bother copy and pasting it, but you could just also, just as easily, copy, paste. H1, H2, H3, that's also fine. If you are going to do H2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, make sure that you copy and paste this and replace the 1 with the number, so that way, and also make sure to adjust the size so that H1 and the other headers are not the same size. But this will make sure that your headers carry the font family sans serif decorative and match the rest of the headers. Past that, we are now at, once again, history, same thing as abilities, the OC, and then finally we're going to move on to the OOC section. Do not ever delete that. That is removing credit from me, and I greatly do not appreciate that, and more than likely you will probably end up getting reported. I allow you guys to have 4 extra, extra ones. You can also just copy, paste, then replace it with 6. It's not hard to just, continue on, but stay behind the BR here and just fill this out. This allows it to have breaks, so it breaks into another line. Sorry, my throat is sore. So yes, anyways, that is how you work HTML and CSS codes. At least mine. Everyone else is more than likely different. But yeah, from there you should have gone to something like this, something more like this. And there is no real limit on how much information that you can put in here. But it gives you better understanding and greater detail of the characters that you have made that you want to write with. And that's why I very highly recommend that people take the time to write out characters if you enjoy the hobby. That is my own rant though, and it does not have to apply to you guys. And if you guys decide that you don't want to use these codes, but you sat here and watched the entire thing, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. I hope that you guys enjoyed yourselves, and if you have any questions, please don't be afraid to leave me a message or comment or something like that. Oh, I almost forgot. Google Fonts. Yes. To get Google Fonts, just fonts.google.com. You'll pop up here. So you want Roboto? I'm going through this very quickly, so I apologize. So you want Roboto? Download family. You're not well, hold on. I'm sorry, not download family. That was dumb of me. Clear. Sorry. You are actually going to go down to select regular 400. Click that. That's what you want. Import. Then don't bother with the extra styles. You could just copy and then come over here and then just replace it. And if you want more than just, Roboto, okay, that's cool. Oh, too far. Let's get this one too, sure, why not? Yeah. Oh, would you look at that? It's out of both of them. Huh. Import. Oh, look, you just copy that. And just make sure that you just use the name of the font. And that's all whenever you're going down here to link your fonts up. And just replace that. Sorry, I did almost forget that. That was my bad. But yeah, that's how you work HTML, CSS fonts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. And if you decide that you want to use HTML and CSS codes, thank you for your support. I personally do commissions. Any information that you guys want on that, I'm happy to share. Just message me and I will get back to you. Thanks for listening.